Hello everyone! Today, as promised, I'm doing a video about my first trimester. So in English we talk about trimesters, so a pregnancy is divided into 3 trimesters. Each one is about like 3 months, a little over 3 months long. Before I start, I just want to say that this is my experiences, and this doesn't mean that your first trimester looked the same or that your sisters or friends or partners' first trimester looked the same. You might not have had any of the same symptoms. You might have had a lot of symptoms that I didn't have. This is just how I've experienced it, the symptoms I've had, the things that I've gone through, basically. I've of course made some trusty notes so that I don't leave anything out. So the first thing that I wanted to mention was finding out that I was pregnant and how my body felt. So basically, for a pregnancy test to show a positive result, a little fertilized egg has to implant into your uterus. This is called implantation. This is getting very biological and technical. I'm sorry, this is the only part. It won't be this technical the whole way through. So some people claim that you can feel this implantation happen, while some other people are very skeptical because it's on such a microscopic level. And I kind of, before this happened to me, I would have agreed that how could you possibly feel something like that? But I have to say, the day before we got our first, like, a little bit positive test, like a very faint line, I thought I was getting my period because I had such a heavy feeling in my lower abdomen. I felt it was like this, like, kind of dull ache. And I was like, well, I guess it didn't work. I had really strong feelings about, I just kind of knew that I would end up becoming pregnant. But then I said to Dave, you know what, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, I feel like I'm getting my period, which was fine. Like, it's not like we had been trying for a long time at all. But yeah, the next morning I actually, just for fun, I guess, took a pregnancy test. There was a faint little line, and then every day that line just kind of got stronger and stronger and stronger. I don't think I felt much those first few days when we were still kind of testing, but round about the time that I should have gotten my period, but obviously didn't, I again had quite this like weird, dull, ache, heavy feeling in my lower abdomen. So very similar to what I think was the implantation. But yeah, so that was kind of weird. That was like the first symptom. But then just a few days later, that all went away and I kind of felt really normal. I can't say that I had any symptoms at all until the middle of week 6, let's say, so the 7th week. That's when I, for the first time, started noticing in the morning that I felt a little bit funny before eating, and I felt super fine after having breakfast. But it was just like a little slight, like, don't feel great. But then as soon as I ate, it was fine. And that kind of like day by day got a little bit worse and worse until like the middle of the 8th week. So I was like 7 plus 3 or something. Yeah, this is pregnancy lingo where we talk about the actual like days. I don't do that anymore because it's not relevant anymore, but I think in the beginning, sometimes it's quite relevant, like how far into a week you are. So yeah, sorry, that sounds so like nerdy, but anyway, so 7.5 weeks pregnant. That's when I started getting like the proper morning sickness, like that I really had to eat something straight away when I woke up, and it wasn't only just in the mornings anymore. Yeah, this whole morning sickness thing. I don't think it matters what time of day it is. Sure, I understand that it's like the worst in the morning when you haven't eaten for a long time. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Your body doesn't care what time of day it is. You can still feel sick. But for me, it really helped to just have snacks on hand all the time. My classmates laughed at me so much because I'd always have like chopped up little bits of carrots or apple or rice cakes or something, anything to keep me going through the classes. And obviously they didn't know what was going on. They just thought I was like super cute with my little snacks. But in a way, it was really nice to feel a little bit sick because then you knew that something is actually happening in your body. Like, you're not imagining this, because you know when you feel fine and you're obviously not showing because the baby is like the size of a blueberry, you feel absolutely fine, and it's so hard to kind of believe or accept or just trust that there is a baby in there. So in a way, it was really nice to start feeling sick because then it felt like, okay, this is real, this is happening. And I think around the same time, like 7-8 weeks or something, I don't actually remember when it started, but I started getting quite bloated. Like I would just feel, I don't know, I just didn't feel like myself. And it's not so much that I was gassy, it was just like a really like bloated, weird feeling. And that, I mean, continued for weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't feel that way at all anymore, thankfully. And then obviously what was great with this whole like nausea thing was that with that also came the tiredness. I have to admit, okay, let me just get this out there. There has been so many things about pregnancy that I have been like, really? Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm sure it's like that. Yeah, I'm sure you get food aversions. I'm sure you get so tired. I'm sure, you know, whatever. Not maybe that bad, but I've been skeptical about a lot of things. But let me tell you right now, it's all true. It is all bloody true. It doesn't mean that it'll happen to you, but it is all true. So yeah, the tiredness, my gosh. At like 5:30 or something like that, I would just be laying on the couch, unable to get up. Dave cooked every single dinner. Not that that's unusual because he's mainly the person who cooks in this household. But I would literally, we would have dinner and like watch some Netflix or something, and I would just try to push it until like 9 or 10 o'clock when I could go to bed, because I didn't want to go at 8 o'clock to bed, because then I would have gotten up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, because I never slept more than 9 hours anyway. So I really tried to like push it as far as I could, but oh my gosh, that tiredness. It was really no joke at all. What else? Yes, around that time, my boobs started getting sore. Not like mega bad, but like I could start to feel it, which was another thing that was like, okay, good. It's part of the process. I know that it's supposed to happen. So then week 8, week 9, the nausea was at its worst. With that also came the food aversions. It was so weird. I remember I did a video where I was saying like, oh, I'm really into like Dave's egg and mustard sandwiches these days. And then a few days later, maybe a week later, I don't remember, I came off them like that. One day I had them, and the next day I was like, I don't want that at all. So instead I had my trusty old egg and banana sandwich, and I had that one day, and then the next day I was like, no. I completely came off fried eggs. I didn't have fried eggs for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've only recently started having fried eggs again. I don't know. I can't explain it. Like the smell of that mustard that he put on his sandwiches, like even, oh, I could like smell it on his fingers for some reason, if he'd like, I guess, yeah, eaten with his fingers. Oh, so gross. I still absolutely would not have that sandwich. I've completely come off it. And another thing I also completely came off was coffee, which was really inconvenient because you're so tired, and you are allowed to have 2 cups of coffee per day. Don't worry, I have consulted my doctor. But I was kind of like, I was trying to drink a little bit less, because before I got pregnant, I'd probably have 2-3 cups per day, max 3 cups, let's say. So then I started only having coffee in the morning, and then suddenly I was like, nope, no, cannot have that at all. And I haven't wanted to have coffee since. And I'm just, I'm just waiting for the day when I want to have coffee again, because 1 cup of coffee per day wouldn't hurt, and it would just give me that little energy boost or kick that I so desperately miss. So here's hoping, maybe at some point, maybe I can reintroduce coffee into my life. We'll see. What other aversions have I had? It was not so much like specific things that I didn't want to have. It was more of a, I just didn't, like nothing sounded good to me. Like everything was just like, I don't know, I can't explain it. And this is one of these things that I would have been like, oh really? But it's just like, it's just something in you that just makes you go, whatever, like stuff that you would normally like. I was just kind of like, I just didn't want it. I just wanted to have fish sticks, basically, and potato. I've gotten really into fish fingers, and potato have been kind of my go-to throughout this whole pregnancy. I am not ashamed. They're delicious. As far as cravings go, I really haven't had any weird cravings. I think Dave would back me up here. I mean, I've fancied things from time to time, but who doesn't fancy things from time to time, you know what I mean? The only time I've just had to have something was when I was feeling so nauseous. I was lying in bed an entire afternoon, and the only thing I wanted was these little like baby sausages, and I wanted to have them cold. But obviously, Dave being so Mr. I've read all the books, didn't allow me to have them cold. I just wanted to like snack on cold sausages. Like, is that so bloody weird? It was the only thing I wanted in my life. He ended up frying them, and It was great, but it just wasn't the same thing. But he did make them into like little hot dogs with some toast around it, and it was delicious, but just not as good as a cold. So actually I kind of fancy them right now as well. Anyway, it was so funny, like the nausea kind of culminated at the beginning of the 10th week of pregnancy, and then it more or less overnight went away. It was like insanely better one day, and then the next day I was like, okay, well, I guess this is it then. Oh yeah, speaking of, not that I was speaking about hormones, but let's just say, speaking of hormones, one of the things that I was very prepared for was for my skin to change. I don't know if you can see it in this light. I noticed in my last video, at least, you could really see it really well. And obviously I have a ton of makeup on my face right now, but my skin got really bad. Or I shouldn't say really bad, because there are people who actually have really bad skin and you don't hear them complaining. But let's just say, like, compared to before, it was a drastic change. Because like, since I was in puberty, like 40 years ago or whenever it was, I haven't really had much problems with my skin at all. So first, like, coming off birth control messed up my skin quite a lot. And then that kind of continued, I think. Then when it got, like, you know, pregnancy hormones into the whole thing, it got quite bad compared to how it was, let's say. And if you're a insanely vain person, an insecure person, as I apparently am, then yeah, it's been a little bit of a bummer, and it's bothered me a little bit. But Dave keeps saying that nobody else would ever notice it but me, so maybe that's true or not. Oh, and speaking about hormones, I forgot to say, also when that stage came when I started getting so tired, that's also when, ouch, my boobs started getting so sore. It's weird. You wouldn't think that it's possible, but even just going like that kind of hurts, actually. It's so much better now. Oh my gosh. But yeah, they were very, very sore for like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something. But now recently, I mean, the first trimester is way in the past now. But yeah, so much better now. Then, oh yeah, this is fun. Then I got a really dry nose, maybe week 10 or something like that. So the nausea was over, but instead I got a really dry nose. And okay, if you're sensitive, don't listen to this part. But you wouldn't believe the stuff coming out of my nose. I mean, I would just have to show Dave every morning what I was blowing out of my nose. It was so weird and so gross. Thankfully, that has now very recently stopped. I think now when I got my cold, that was kind of like the end of that phase for some reason. Maybe there was like something rebalanced in my nose or something like that. Then at the end of the first trimester, around week 12, even though everything else like magically went away, like, oh, I felt so much more energetic by week 12. I didn't feel bloated. I just felt like a $1,000,000 basically. What happened is that I still had the dry nose situation. That's when that like really developed. But also I started sneezing every day. I sneeze every single day. I have sneezed every single day for the past 5 weeks. It's not nice for 3 reasons. One, sneezing in general isn't like the best feeling in the world. Second, when you have a baby inside your stomach, it doesn't feel nice to be like, you know, like what your body does when you sneeze. That doesn't feel very nice. And thirdly, because of the baby in your stomach, when you like do a really sudden movement as sneezing, you can get really sharp pains from like the ligaments. It's called round ligament pain. Yeah, so it just feels like, you know, when you sneeze and like someone like stabs you with a knife, basically. Maybe exaggerating there a little bit, but basically that's how it is. That's pregnancy for you. And also around 12 weeks was when I started to notice that maybe there was a little bit of a rounder look to my stomach than usual. Very, very slightly. And now when I compare to pictures of like me at 12 weeks, because I've done like every week I've taken a picture. I won't show them here because I tend to do it in my underwear. It was just the world's tiniest little bump at 12 weeks. It's not like I was worried that I was showing or anything like that. Like I knew that nobody else could see it. But then gradually, strangely enough, week by week, it's just kept on growing. Those are all my notes. I have every intention of doing a pregnancy-related Q&A video at some point because I'm sure that there's things that you guys want to know, and I'm sure I forgot so many things. Anyway, that was it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!